All right, so today we are opening up the viewer email inbox to answer your money questions. Joining us, as always, is financial expert and author of the new book, Good Money Revolution, Derek Kinney. Derek, thanks for being with us today and taking the questions from the email inbox.
I'm looking forward to this. Great to be with you, Jason.
All right, let's start with Alyssa from Grand Prairie. She wrote in and said, I owe $15,000 on my student loans and make under $125,000 in income. How much of that loan can I get paid off, and how do I do it? A lot of people have been asking questions about this loan forgiveness announced by President Biden recently, Derek.
Yeah, Alyssa, first of all, thanks for the question. Go to studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov. Keep in mind, it is a government website, so it's not the most efficient, but it's going to get you what you need in terms of logging in, registering, and getting on the list that when they do send out information on the specifics about loan forgiveness, you'll be on there. The key is you're under 125, which is good. In your situation, you'll be able to write off $10,000 of the $15,000. So you'll still owe $5,000, but that's a big chunk to have written off. But again, studentaid.gov for you and anybody else watching is the resource to begin the process of loan forgiveness.
Yeah, a lot of those rules still being figured out there too. So, you know, be a little bit patient with that as we go through these next couple of weeks. They say that it could take several weeks before we get all the rules on that. Bill in Frisco wrote in, Derek, he says, I'm feeling nervous about the stock market. You're not alone there, Bill. He says, I'm 43 and don't plan to retire for a while. Should I keep adding money to my 401k or stop until things are less volatile? I think I know what you're going to say here, Derek, but I'm going to let you say it.
Well, Bill, great question. A lot of other people are worried about the volatility right now. Here's one of the strategic benefits of the 401k is it lets you buy in on a systematic basis, which I love. Sometimes you're buying less shares, sometimes you're buying more shares, but it lets you average it out. So I would continue doing it. Now, here's what you can do, a little layer of strategy not many talk about in your 401k, and that is if you want to get more conservative and stay in the 401k, you can do that. But I would consider adding money to things like the S&P 500, the big blue chip dividend paying companies that don't tend to go down as much as some of the technology stocks. But that could be a good way, especially now, even consider increasing what you're adding, knowing that at some point when the Fed changes course, the market will likely come back up again.
All right, good to know there, and you're right. You could be buying this stuff pretty cheaply, you know, compared to historical averages. Let's get to Jamie in Dallas now, who emails this question to us. She says, "Was fortunate to receive a $75,000 inheritance. I owe $150,000 on my house, and that's my only debt. But I would like to splurge on a trip. I'll do what you tell me to do. Thanks." This sounds like you've got a lot of power here, Derek. So what advice do you give here?
Jamie, first of all, don't set your travel budget at $75,000. That would be the criminal offense here. I always like to tell people when you have, as I call it, pennies from heaven, you want to have something to show for that inheritance, whether it's a lottery winning, an inheritance, a settlement. So I like to call it the 2/3 rule, and that is take at least 2/3 of it and put it toward your debt. That way, whatever happens, you have something to show for that. Then maybe you set a goal of maybe 5 to 10,000, 10 on the high side of a real big splurge trip. The rest of it, park in your checking or savings to take advantage of either market opportunities or paying down some more debt as well. The bottom line is I'd rather you complain about having paid off too much debt than bought something else and it puts you further into debt. That's really not the way to go.
Okay, so you're saying reward yourself, but don't go crazy here and put most of that money aside and hold on to it there. But good for her for not having a lot of other kinds of debt to have to deal with too. Delario in Weatherford finishes it out for us here today, Derek. He says, I've heard you talk about the best way to ask for a raise. I like where I work, but I want to make more money. What's the best way to get more than the small 4% cost of living raise that so many companies give out? This can be really kind of tricky, can't it, Derek?
Well, it can be. And again, this isn't for everybody, but if you're in a position where you can influence your salary, the old way of thinking is to bang on your boss's door, demand the raise, and because they don't want to lose you and they recognize the cost of replacing you, they'll probably give you more than a 4% raise. The problem is it doesn't really value you for what you're truly worth. So here's the better way that's been proven countless times, especially recently, is you want to ask yourself in your current position, whether you're the administrative assistant, mid-level manager, vice president, whatever it is, what are the 3 things that you can do to help grow the business? Number 1, what can I do to increase sales? Number 2, how can I reduce expenses? And how can I, third, help grow the business? If you can take answers to those 3 questions to your boss and say, look, I want to be here. I love this job. I want to make more money. Then by you adding value, you become more valued. We're hearing stories of people getting raises of $5,000 to $10,000 because they're helping their companies grow. And then the boss wants to share some of that growth with the employee who made it happen.
Derek, a lot of people don't know whether to throw out an actual number or percentage, though. What's your usual advice on something like that? Should you go ahead and just lay that out on the table?
You know, it reminds me of my very first internship in college, and I shook hands with the gentleman and I said, I am the best person for this job, and looked him dead in the eyeball. You want to be specific on what you want, because that's where the negotiation begins. If you say no number, they lead it. If you want to say, look, my goal is to get a $10,000 raise, and here's my plan to help us get there. Now you have an anchor point in negotiation. They might meet you in the middle, but at least you start high and end up in the middle. It's going to put more money in your pocket, and you'll feel more valued as an employee.
I like that. And you've been this way since the very first job. That's impressive. Derek, thank you.
Fond memories.
Derek Kinney, the author of Good Money Revolution, answering all the questions for us today. Thanks, Derek.